Hey there, Masters. Today we're going to talk about the most unheard and unpopular mechanic in FPS games, contextual leaning. This mechanic is rarely talked about, so I'm going to be the one talking about it. Please watch this video until the end if you want to know something about this mechanic and hear what people think about it. Anyways, let's dive in. First, we need to learn what leaning is. Leaning in FPS games is a mechanic where the player can peek around angles without fully exposing their body. Unlike peeking where you either show half of your body or your whole body for a brief moment, leaning allows you to peek around corners or over obstacles without stepping fully into the open. Now there's two types of leaning depending on the game you're playing. There's manual leaning and non-manual leaning, also known as contextual leaning. Manual leaning is a type of leaning mechanic where you get to decide how you want to lean by pressing Q to lean left and E to lean right. You see it more commonly on Rainbow Six Siege, where players can lean however they want without limits. Non-manual leaning, also known as contextual leaning, is a type of leaning mechanic where only the game decides whether you can lean or not. Unlike manual leaning, you cannot lean however you want. The game engine must detect if you meet its criteria. It will usually check things like, are you close enough to a corner or a piece of cover? Is the angle appropriate? Is there cover to lean from? Are you not far away from cover? If all conditions are met, the game automatically lets you lean when you ADS, also known as aiming down sights. However, if you fail to meet these conditions, then leaning is not possible. To put it simple, manual leaning means you have full control on how you want to lean, while non-manual leaning means the game decides the leaning for you. You don't have full control, only the game. Alright, now you know what the leaning mechanic is. There's a lot of reasons of why people don't use it, but I won't explain all reasons since I don't want to make the video boring. Let's go to 3 points of why contextual leaning is less popular than manual leaning. Number 1. It's restrictive. Because the game engine decides when leaning is allowed, if you try to lean in your own way, like strafing or backing away a few feet, the game will register it as an invalid position, which cancels the leaning stance. The game is the one making the decisions and you have no control over it. That's why you may see comments like, oh my god, why can't I strafe while leaning? Or I can't leave however I want, it's so strict. That's where manual leaning comes to the rescue. Because it's not as restrictive as contextual leaning, you can definitely lean however you want, even lean thin air without needing for cover. Many people wouldn't want to use a mechanic that's considered restrictive and slow to use in engagements, so unless they can control it, they would entirely abandon and prefer peeking instead. Peeking is quick and efficient to perform if manual leaning is non-existent. There are also some people that say it's inconsistent with geometry. Sometimes it triggers when you don't want it, and sometimes it refuses to trigger when you do. Players hate inconsistency more than anything. It's not a skill worth learning for most people. Number 2. It's not well taught. Even in games like Battlefield 1, if players are never shown how contextual leaning works or why it's useful, they'll treat it as optional rather than a necessary mechanic in gunfights. Social media also plays a role in why it's rarely used. If contextual leaning hasn't been a part of the meta for a long time, people instinctively reject it because the crowd decides on whether it works or not. So even if it does work and helps win engagements, it won't be widely accepted as long as the player base stays silent. However, people can sometimes underestimate a specific pro tactic that works because they only listen to what social media influencers and a group of people say, not understanding. So of course the tip is going to feel useless to them without testing it out and practicing. Number 3. People don't know how to use it effectively. Even when they understand what it is and what it does, they may still not know how to use it properly. That's why they stick to tactics they're usually familiar with. If they try to learn at the first time, they will mess up a few times, which some people may avoid doing. If they know what peeking is, whether from Valorant or CSGO, then the chances of them relying on peeking tactics instead of leaning are much higher. Learning how to use contextual leaning takes a lot of mental effort and time, which most people avoid. Let's ask an important question. Is contextual leaning useless? While it may seem like it since the game engine decides whether you can lean or not instead of you, I would say that, at least for me, it isn't useless. It's simply a situational tactic with its own quirks and game rules, and it can offer a significant advantage. Leaning keeps more of your character's body behind cover, whereas picking forces you to step out for a brief moment. It takes time to master. If you understand how it works and why it behaves that way, your chances of winning gunfights will increase. Now, don't get me wrong, as a person who mastered contextual leaning for 2 whole years, leaning does have weaknesses. It's slow, methodical, restrictive, decision-making tax, and it requires you to understand complex geometry. If you're low on HP, there's still a chance you'll die because leaning does not eliminate your exposure, only decreases it. So to put it simple, leaning is not useless. It just requires understanding to know when it's the right time to use it. Anyways, that's the entire video. I hope some of my points made sense on why contextual leaning is underused a lot and taught you a lot of things about it. If you found this video interesting and engaging, make sure you give me a like, and if you enjoy my content, consider hitting the subscribe button. It will really help me out. If not, that's fine. Do whatever you want. I have no problem. Have a good day, evening, or night, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.